What's up, guys? Welcome to the Linecheck podcast. Today I'm in the studio with my friend Luna. What's up?
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. It's a
Cool.
little cold outside.
Yeah, it is. But I'm super happy to be here.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
How's your day today?
Good. Yeah, it was chilling. We were chilling at the wine bar. It was nice.
Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about what you do?
I work at Buvon in Long Beach. It's a natural wine bar and shop, and I'm responsible for the bar. So, yeah.
Awesome. I met Luna, obviously at Bouvan, but I met her in a way because I'm half Filipino and Luna's also half Filipino. So it's always fun to like connect with other Pinoys, and especially like being halves, because we always feel like a little bit left out. I mean, do you feel that way?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I also was brought up in a place where there was no Filipinos. So,
Mhm.
to be honest, it was a different experience for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, I feel that way. Just like, cause like obviously like I don't look Filipino, so like it is always hard to like get into like the culture or like make friends, or people would be like, "Hey, are you Filipino?" I'm Filipino too, because I would never get that
Yeah,
unless
yeah,
like I
yeah.
had to tell someone like, "Hey, guess what? I am half Filipino. I know stuff that you know."
That's
So
crazy.
yeah, it's always fun to like meet other people. So how was it like living in France and being Filipino? You already said that it was like
Yeah,
a
it
little
was like
hard or just different.
it's just so different from here for sure. I was brought up in the French Riviera. There are barely any Filipinos out there. The only Filipino people I had around me were basically my mom and, some of our help at the house,
Hmm.
who are basically like my family because I grew up with them. Apart from that, I never had any Filipino friends, or I would only have my family that we would come and visit, like once a year, either in the Philippines or here in LA. So definitely, I felt for the longest time that my identity was there was something missing in my identity because I'm obviously half French. And then French people don't know about Philippines much, so they'll always be like, "Are you Chinese? Are you Vietnamese?" I was like, fool.
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, I mean that's also why I was seeking, for something else, and which actually has led me here, to reconnect with my Filipino identity and to be closer to my family here. So yeah.
It's awesome. How has it been living in Long Beach so far?
It's been amazing, in so many different ways. The the biggest perk about being here in Long Beach, I think, is like, the community, and the diversity of, gender, of cultures, race, religion. It just feels like a big melting pot.
Mhm.
And I've been looking for a place where I would be able to settle and feel, comfortable. But I also didn't want to live in a big city because I lived in London, I lived in Paris, and then it felt a little bit overwhelming. So during COVID, I moved back to the south of France, and because I need more nature. I was brought up like,
Mhm.
the French Riviera where I'm from, which is like Nice, Cannes. It's pretty much like here in California. I need the sea. I need
Mhm.
like some greenery and like, like mountains and stuff. But the community is still restrained, and it's just not as diverse. And so, here the difference with Long Beach is that I have this environment that's great. You have the sea. You have like, California is very similar to the French Riviera in that sense, but it's just so much more open. And at the same time, I didn't feel like moving to LA because LA is so hectic and,
Mhm.
there's just so much going on. Whereas here it's just like
A slowed down
mellow.
version.
Yeah.
Yeah, but better.
Yeah, exactly. And I do love that,
Yeah.
like, and also the people here are just, there's such interesting profiles. everyone has a very unique story. And then, all these like new businesses, all these entrepreneurs, and yeah, it's just very enriching. So far, my experience has been very enriching in Long Beach.
How did you like get in touch with Bouvons to like work there? Like, did you already know like Marie or Alicia, or
No.
were you just like you just stumbled upon it and you're like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm coming to like Long Beach to like live here. Let's see where I can like find a job.
Okay, so first, like it was very random the way I ended up here. I was traveling, so with my business partner Hugo, he's a chef. We had 2 restaurants together in the Riviera, and once we dropped our projects, we were like, we want to travel, so we went to Mexico. We went throughout Europe. We were basically touring through food pop-ups. So I pair the wines and produce the events, and Hugo designs all the food, and it's all like farm to table. So obviously we were always looking for spots that were, in the same DNA as we were. And we ended up settling in California for 3 months because I wanted to visit my family. We're close to Mexico, so it kind of makes sense. And then we had a few contacts here. We did a few private dinners. And one day we just wanted to go for a drink. And, Raisin, the natural wine guide.
Kind of.
It's amazing. You should really check it out. So it references like all the natural wine spots across the world, and also the natural winemakers. So we always use this, when we're traveling.
Yeah.
And Buvon was referenced on it, and it was the closest to home, which is Cerritos. So I was like, okay, let's go and check it out. Let's go have a drink. And then I'm like, oh, that's funny. Buvon, like French, okay, sure. Like,
what's the connection here?
Yeah, I'm like, what's the connection? Let's drink. Okay, sure. So, we went, and the first time we visited, I was like, oh my God. Me being a wine nerd, I was like, this is insane. There's bottles that I never even had the opportunity myself to have in my restaurant or to work with. So we sat down, had a drink, and then I met Marie and Alicia. And then obviously we realized we had a lot of friends in common with Marie, and we told them that we were looking for places to pop up. And Marie and Alicia were like, oh, why don't you do it here? So that's how it all started. We did our first food pop-up there, and it went really well. And then Alicia was like, do you want to come back? So we did a second one. And then on the second pop-up, Alicia and Marie were like, we're looking for someone to join the team. We're growing. Well, do you want to join us? So it was such a sudden and like last minute decision, because all of a sudden I was like, wow, okay, so I was traveling, I'm moving to California, and my whole life is like, taking a whole other direction. But I was like, okay, why not? So that's how it started.
Hell yeah. How did you originally get into wine?
So same thing, very random story. I did start working in wine, but I was more into international communication. Before, I used to work for like big luxury corporations. And at the time I was working for Dom Pérignon, so champagne. So that's how I kind of got into wine in the first place. And then I met like some of my friends. There was a neighbor bar and restaurant in Paris, like very close to where I used to live, and they got me familiar to natural wine. It's called Deviant and Vivant. It's a beautiful little group of restaurants in France, in Paris. And so I started getting into it, and that's what I would drink for my personal consumption. And I thought it was just so much more interesting and vivid. Everything was different. All the vintages had a story, and I really, loved that. And then when I moved to the south of France, I took over our family farm. We have a family farm in permaculture in the Riviera, and so we basically I relaunched a whole concept around sustainable tourism. So it was like a small hotel. It's called Luna Sallusti, and we didn't have any food. So that's how I met Hugo, my business partner, who had just opened at the same time as I took over the family farm. He opened his restaurant in the neighboring village, which was farm to table and natural wines. And so it was a weird time during COVID. They unfortunately had to shut down the restaurant because of the sanitary measures, and so because we were already doing events, we started working together. Our clientele was very like, they would sleep at the farm and then go to the restaurant, and so I was just like, why don't we just do the restaurant at the farm and use all the products that we have here, because there was like 300 fruit trees and like a medicinal garden and like a potager, like fruit and veg. And so we started this project of very intimate farm to table dinners with the natural wine pairings. And the first week we opened, his partner at the time, Arthur, dropped, and so he left.
Damn.
And I was like, okay, so now we're selling 6-course dinners with wine pairing, but we have no sommelier or that like restaurant manager. So that's how I got into it. I was like, someone needs to do it. Yeah, exactly. So that's how it started. And I learned in like a very unconventional way, because in the first place it was more with my taste buds and pairing, So every week I had to find 6 pairings to Hugo's food. And every week we would change the menu. So it was very challenging. But it was also, a very advanced kind of knowledge. You have to always constantly adapt and find out. And, in natural wine, like things taste good one day, the next day they can taste bad. So that's how I learned. And then in the end, it worked really well. And I started, catching such a great passion out of it that I didn't want to stop. So that was 3 years ago.
Wow. So by the way, what are we actually drinking right now?
Well, right now it's actually a new reference that we got into the cellar this week. So it's Vin Noé. It's actually a Californian guy who settled in France, and he is doing he's a négociant, so he buys grapes from micro projects a little bit everywhere across France. This one is Gueule d'Amour, so it's a Pinot Noir from Burgundy. It's a whole cluster maceration for 8 days, so it's a slight maceration, which brings like the lightness of the juice, and then it's rested on the lees for a year. It's a pretty light Pinot Noir. I think it's really beautiful.
I get some like grapefruit in here.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I get also
and, like,
there's a bit of like there is, and there's can you smell like the pepper? There's a little bit of like there's a little bit of
it's like a white pepper.
Yeah. And then also it feels almost like suggesting notes of bell pepper, but it's not exactly it yet. I feel like the fruit is really beautiful too, and it's well balanced. It's a light juice.
Yeah, I can definitely smell like the spice of like a crisp bell pepper, red bell pepper.
Yeah, exactly.
When you like cut into it and it like
exactly.
Yeah,
that's where we're at.
White pepper.
Yeah,
it's delicious.
This is great with like, I would say spicy food, or like earlier.
Seasick.
Actually, yeah, seasick could work with this.
Seasick.
Spicy seasick, yeah, for sure.
So how did you get in touch with why did you want to get in touch with your Filipino roots?
Okay, more personal story now. So actually my mom, she moved from here to join my dad and to marry him in France. And I felt for a very long time that her identity, she kind of reframed it to integrate better in France. And so don't get me wrong, we've been raised, by a Filipino mother for sure. But like our values, our family values, and our education is very well based on that. But my mom would always adapt to my father. So it was a lot of like, she's a great cook, but she would always cook Mediterranean food and French and Italian food. Like she would speak English to us, but we never were taught Tagalog because it wasn't a thing. And she didn't feel like it was a necessity. It was maybe more like something extra, and then it didn't seem relevant to her. But then we would also be strongly linked. One thing that was great is that our family ties are so strong, and I feel that's a proper Filipino thing, because like everyone is so scattered all over the world. But we were always, I mean, my Filipino family, even though I've barely spent time with them in my life, really, they're so close to my heart, and so in terms of values and families, that was really important. I kind of felt like from that sense, there was a lot of cultural education. My education around the Filipino culture was lacking a lot, I felt. And especially like not being able to speak Tagalog was already one thing where I felt a bit alienated, So I really had this strong desire to discover more of myself. I also felt like there was a lot of, Southeast Asian culture, but also like infused like Hispanic culture, things that I would relate to just very, very naturally, but I never could bridge it with, my Filipino side.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the strongest will for me, was to really understand. I always felt like there was something missing into me. And even in France, like people tend to really like put you in a box, of like, you're like this, you're like that. If you're going to do these studies, you're going to go to this career. You got to figure out yourself, and kind of people profile you very quickly. And it's always been really hard to profile me because of the diversity of, my multicultural profile. So what's funny is ever since I've been here in California, I've never felt so complete, because not only do I discover my Filipino culture and I'm closer to it, and I'm obviously closer to my family here, and I'm so grateful, they really teach me so much about myself and about the Philippines. But also I feel like my French identity takes a whole other sense as well. It's very much valued also, so it doesn't feel left behind, which is why I feel like very complete. And I feel like I want to get to know how to bridge both now, the French and the Filipino culture together. So yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, I definitely feel that with just like the lack of knowledge that I like had growing up about my Filipino side, because we were like super Americanized. And when my grandma and grandpa immigrated here from the Philippines, to like fit into the culture better, they didn't want their kids speak Tagalog, so they just like spoke English only. And so like my mom and all of her siblings were like super Americanized growing up here, and so that obviously like passed on to like me and all my cousins. So we're all like very Americanized, and then we just like, some of us just wanted to like learn more about like our Filipino culture. And so like I just like kind of stepped in to like work at a restaurant that like was Filipino and like learn more
which
about
is my
the culture.
favorite, by the way. La Cita.
Yeah, it was Lhasa and then La Cita now, and just like learn more about the food. And like I already had like the flavors in to like what I knew what Filipino food would taste like, but it helped me like learn the ingredients more and like how everything kind of works together. So it's like in that kind of same sense,
And with a modern identity as well,
with
I
modern
feel.
identity.
Yeah. And I feel also it's a lot about the second generation, right? It's like our generation really trying to, it's so funny how the generations before, they were really just moving away.
Trying to move away, but everyone wants to run back to it.
Exactly. And we're like,
it's all my friends that are Filipino.
It's such a huge wave. It's not just like, this is why also I was so happy to come here, because I was like, I'm not the only one really asking myself questions about where we're from, who we are. It's like a whole movement, and I want to be part of that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, we're just proud to like represent our culture
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, because we've really never had like a name in front of it, and I
Mm-hmm.
always feel like Filipino culture is just always kind of like there's like Japanese and Chinese and Thai and Vietnamese. And I always feel like Filipino culture is like swept under the rug a little bit.
For sure.
And so like I just feel like it's super cool that we're all like trying to do something with our Filipino roots, and like whether it be like Filipino food or like doing Filipino art and tattooing, or yeah, just like anything that has to do with Filipino culture, and trying to like bring it into the light just to showcase it and say that we're here.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I love that.
Actually, the first encounter I had here with Filipino culture most officially was through Spiritual Journey, the tattoo parlor. And so Kuya L, who tatted me, he did this whole sleeve on me, and he was like, at first I was really scared to get tatted because I was like, oh, my mom is gonna kill me, you know. But yeah, we discussed a lot. Like I went to visit him once, and we discussed a lot about what it meant. You know, he revived basically like tribal tattooing here in America, and gave it a modern identity. He's so talented, like in so many ways, very full of knowledge on different tribes around the world, more specifically in the Philippines. But you know, when I got this tattoo, I really felt like I was reconnecting to my roots. And at first I was a bit afraid. I was like, maybe I actually I want it to be a second stage. I want to go back to the Philippines first and, you know, kind of figure it out. And then after start getting into tattooing. But then once I got it done, he basically convinced me, and I was like, okay. And then now it feels like it's a whole part of me that's just been so acknowledged, and people are so curious about it. And then, you know, they ask me all the time what it is, and also because I work with my hands so much, you know. So I'm so happy to represent also this community and be part of the Four Waves. I think they're doing an amazing job. There's more than 300 members around, and it's a lot of members through creative industries and stuff. And so the fact that, you know, we were talking about linking communities and new generations, that's definitely one of the people who helped me to bridge myself with the culture. So yeah.
That's awesome. So do you have any other hobbies besides wine and doing other stuff, or
I do.
do you like karaoke?
I knew you were gonna ask this. I do. You know, that's probably my Filipino side.
All right.
Yeah.
So if you like karaoke, do you have a go-to karaoke song?
Yeah, I do, actually.
Please don't say Whitney Houston.
No, actually, me is Amy Winehouse.
Oh, nice.
I love Amy Winehouse, and one I always sing is Valerie. So yeah, love it.
That's a good song. A lot of people sing that song.
Yeah,
at
it's
karaoke.
good. Yeah, it's easy. Like
Yeah.
it speaks to everyone. It
Yeah,
speaks to the Lolas.
Everyone
it
sings
speaks to
along. Yeah.
Exactly.
Nice.
So it's pretty good. Yeah, I actually love singing, and I just recorded I didn't tell you that, but I just recorded a little chant for Talilo, who's a Filipino American rapper in the Bay Area.
Dang.
Yeah, he's part of the tribe as well.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a song that's gonna be specifically on the tattoo community, and so yeah, stay tuned. It will be next year.
So more than
Probably hear me
karaoke,
say, "Woo."
but on the radio. What's your favorite Filipino dish?
What do you think?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
Adobo.
Oh.
Forever chicken adobo. That's
Nice. Yeah, me too, actually.
Is it?
Yeah, my mom's.
Your mom's? Of course.
Chicken adobo.
It's also my mom's, actually.
Yeah.
Actually, my Lola's here is so good because she
Yeah.
puts quail legs inside.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God. And then, you know, they
Yeah.
they simmer into the sauce.
Mhm.
And then, so, okay.
I Adds a little, like little fatty texture to it.
Yeah. But there's one thing, that we say about adobo is that everyone has their own recipe. So some do it like a little more
Every
acid,
mom's
like
is different from the other.
exactly.
Yeah.
So one will do
That's
it a
why
little
everyone
more
says my mom's
vinegary.
is my favorite, and then their mom's is their favorite, but everyone's is different
I
from
know,
each
right?
other. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like adobo is such also this is actually the dish that has allowed me to stay linked with the culture. So it was also the dish that I would always ask my mom to do if my friends were coming at home, in France. I'm so proud of this dish. It's just like, yeah, it's part of a culture, but it's also like a go-to dish. No one cannot like it. It's
Yeah.
just so good. And like any of my friends in France, whenever they come at home, they're like, "Oh, is your mom gonna do the adobo again?" I'm like, dude, you gotta ask for it.
Yeah.
You gotta deserve this. But
I have
yeah.
friends that would say that too. He'd be like, it's like, oh my God, is your mom making chicken adobo? Like when we were in like middle school or whatever.
It's the best thing.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's so good. And actually, my favorite thing in the world is having adobo for breakfast. Is this weird?
Cold?
No, warm. Not cold. No, because
with all the gluten.
yeah, exactly. But like when it's warmed up and it's like the most heartwarming thing, I'm like, wow, adobo for breakfast. That's like Christmas every day.
I hope to try it. Maybe mix in some eggs. Is that weird?
I'm not gonna
eating
judge.
chicken with eggs. I feel like people think it's weird.
I mean, when there's quail eggs in adobo, I love it. So I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie. Like, I guess it's okay.
That's hilarious. So where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
Actually, that's a very good question, and I have no clue.
No one knows.
Yeah, but more specifically, my life path and my career, like specifically my career, I've always been driven by opportunities. I never thank you. I never see through longer term, because every time I've done that, I've always been disappointed because I always change my mind. I'm Gemini at the end of the day. I change my mind a lot. So no, I love getting driven by opportunities. And for that matter, in 5 years is such a long time, like 2 years ago,
Yeah.
I was a farmer.
And you had no idea you'd be here right now.
Yeah, 2
On a
years ago, it was
podcast.
a family farm, I was just chilling with birds and trees and bees and
now you're next to a busy street with a bunch of cars inside a studio
exactly.
on a podcast.
Exactly. Now I'm in Long Beach in California 2 years later. Who would have thought? No one,
Yeah.
So, no, I don't know. If there is one thing that I would love to do in the longer term is to recreate a casa the way that I had before and kind of bridge all my life experiences together, around food, lodging, wine, obviously, and kind of one life goal of mine is to create a casa where people would feel at home and have a full experience where they don't need to take care of anything. I would just host them in the best way. I mean, not necessarily the best way, but I mean, just in an alternative way that's as green as possible, that's respectful to the environment and cultures and people. So, but just like having basically a place where I could gather people around that would be enriching for everyone, even the people who come in, and that the people who come in would also be contributing to. So yeah, that's probably my long-term goal.
Nice. Do you have any like upcoming projects that you're like working on?
Yes.
Want to tell me about it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, there's so one of my friends from the tribe, from the Four Ways Tribe, the tattoo tribe, Valentine. He's an amazing chef. I'm very excited for you to meet him also. We would love, like, we're planning, I want to do more events around food and, Filipino food, but also, food and wine. Mm-hmm. So we're planning to do a kamayan soon. So boodle fight, which was, the traditional warrior meal before they would go to battle. It's just, I love kamayan because it's a community meal and experience where basically everyone eats with their hands and shares on one big table. You have so much abundance on it. All sorts of different grilled meats, rice, lumpia, fruits. And I love that kind of like, first of all, I love eating with hands because I think the experience is just so different in terms of textures, in terms of, just eating and understanding, like taste, and it feels like so much different than cutlery. To me,
Yeah.
cutlery is very alienating in some sort of way.
How do you eat with your hands?
Sorry?
How do you eat with your hands?
Like this?
So you show the cameras. So when you do kamayan, it means eat with your hands. You use your like four fingers and to scoop, then use your thumb and then push your thumb with the food into your mouth. It's like that.
It's important that you know this because it's how can I say, the cleanest way of eating.
I mean, if you saw someone just going like this, like grabbing it.
Oh my God. The Lolas would go crazy at you.
Yeah, there's a way to do it.
There's a way to do it. So yeah, I'm very much excited, and I would love to pour some wine, pair some wine to the food. And I was thinking Magnum style, so big formats, because sharing is caring.
Big food, big bottles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So these are the next ones. And then there's also another project I'm working on since we're in California. I'm working on a project that's called Uva y Flor, and I'm working with Jess and Joanna. They're two amazing women. Basically, it's a wheat and wine dinner. So we're working on that. Probably Valentine will be one of the first chefs we want to do it with. And so it'll be a supper club around wheat and wine, because I feel like, wine pairing, and then there's so many different varieties of grapes and vinification techniques and terroirs and regions, the same way that there is in weed. So we want to work with different strains and work around like a dinner that will be experiential in both ways. So yeah, stay tuned. It will be probably for the beginning of next year.
Sounds crazy.
Yeah.
Sounds like
I'm very much excited. It's gonna be a trip for sure.
For the guests. That's awesome. I'd like to attend that. It sounds fun. Just eat some food and drink and then get extremely stoned.
Mm-hmm. But it has to be like in a certain
perfect balance.
Exactly. I want it to be a little
or else
fine.
Someone would get too fucked up, and then
we don't want that.
Yeah.
No, we don't want that.
We want someone to be able to walk after.
No, yeah, for sure. That's why we'd be using a lot of CBD too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like to the whole purpose of this is to associate notes. So the same way that you would have notes in a wine, we would try to find resonating notes or differentiating notes in the flowers, But I feel like it's something that has been explored many times, but I feel like it's not
never
been
done right.
Yeah, it's never been really fully optimized, I feel like. So, I mean, I'm just very keen to do more research on that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, let me know about that when
I will.
You are ready, or when you guys are going to do it. So, fun question.
Yeah.
If you can be any animal, what kind of animal would you be and why?
I thought of this for a very long time, actually. I think I would be a, how do you call them? An Wistiti?
What?
The little monkeys.
Yeah, from the Philippines. I always forget their name. They just look like, my uncle would always tell me that's how we used to look like before.
Really?
Yeah, it's fucked up.
I don't know what to think about that, but
yeah.
No, it's actually it's my dad used to always call me like this, but I feel like it's very representative of who I am for many different reasons. I thought of it all. I thought I was like,
They look like cartoon monkeys.
Yeah. So
with big eyes.
Exactly. Big eyes. I think it's also like they climb on trees. They're very like agile and also very sociable. Live in community.
They look like they're straight out of Star Wars.
Yeah, true. And also can get very cheeky sometimes. So yeah, I think more for the community and the fact that they're animals that are very agile and adaptable and sociable. Ah oui, Titi.
Cool. I would be a bear.
A bear? Oh yeah.
Yeah, preferably
Totally be a bear.
a brown bear, just because I can like have free space in like the mountains and the forest, and just like eat fish and stuff, and just sleep and climb trees.
You would so be a bear.
That sounds pretty ideal to me.
Good pick.
Yeah. And then take baths in like nice ice cold rivers.
Nice. I would love to live in the jungle. That's also why I like monkeys.
Got it.
And bananas and mangoes are my favorite fruit in the world. So
yeah, Philippine mangoes are the best mangoes. If no one's tried them,
there
is no other mango.
They are. You just need to go Philippines at least for the mangoes.
All the fruit's so good. So, for our last segment, what is your favorite in the weed story?
I have a really good in the weed story, I think. Actually, it was when I was at Casa at the at the farm hotel I was managing. Okay, it's all like sustainable tourism, right? 360 from sleeping, eating, relaxing. So actually, we started the project post COVID, like right after in 2020, end of 2020, yeah. So at this time, everyone wanted to get out of the cities, So when we created this project, it caught a lot of success very suddenly. So we were always really busy at the farm, and there was this one day where I had the hotel completely full, and we were doing a special event during the day at the restaurant. So I probably had about 60 people on a 5-course lunch with pairing, everyone running around, the kids everywhere. And, the farm is still running at the same time. Like, you have to take care of everything. So I'm just like running around, running service. And then I see the clients that I'm about to check in for the hotel. Some people were checking out, some people were checking in. I was running service, doing the pairings. I was a little bit all over the place. It happens that at the farm hotel, we're very keen on preserving the environment. So we had dry toilets, compost toilets. And because there were so many people at the farm, there's a point where they're just, full. So we empty them. And the thing is, like, when I'm doing service, there's like, I have an outfit when I'm like at the farm. Yeah. Like I'm a farmer. Yeah. But then there's also the outfit when I'm working at the restaurant where I look nice. And this time I had like a really beautiful white dress, kind of looking like, hippie chic. So I'm running around in my white dress. And at some point I realized that, the toilets are full. So I have to get the bucket and like kind of like run. And I run in between like 2 plates because, service was ongoing. And I start running, and obviously someone calls me and I trip. And so I was literally just full of shit.
Wow.
Yeah. And everyone's calling me like, service, s'il vous plaît. And I'm just like, oh my God, no, I am full of crap. And I'm just yelling at the bottom of and everyone thinks I'm hurt because, it's like but really I'm just in the full of, full of shit. So
that sucks.
Yeah, I had to change very quickly and come back into it. But it was pretty horrendous.
That's like real in the weeds, or more like in the shits.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally in the shits.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, I don't do well with like poop. Hopefully no one does well with poop. But I picked up dog poop today and I wanted to throw up, so like I would definitely like throw up if I was you.
I think I just yelled and wanted to cry really bad, but I was just like, you know what? Once you work in a farm in permaculture, like, you work compost
smells
and
stuff like that.
Yeah, and then someone had to do it, so you do it, and then you get used to it. But when it falls into you, obviously it's
it's
a little different. Yeah, it's just very different.
Well, cheers to that.
Cheers. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed that podcast today with Luna. and we'll catch you next time. Peace. Bye.